Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Superman weekend, and I'm going to try to go see that movie. I don't care if other people are upset and think it's too woke. I'm very interested in seeing it. The trailer got me. It has Superman's dog in it, and I want to see it. We're going to talk about Superman tonight. And then our Maverick Midnight Matinee will feature Superman. And I'll have details on that for you too. It's a triple feature, and you're not going to want to miss it. And you guys get to join in the conversation tonight. I think I will try to open the phone lines, but I want to talk about Superman superheroes specifically in the call-in portion of the program tonight. So get ready to call in and tell me who your favorite superhero is and why. It doesn't have to be Superman. And we can have a conversation about that, plus all the controversy surrounding the movie. And you can tell me whether you're planning to go see this piece of Hollywood wokeness, if indeed that is what it is. I'm not even sure that it's true. From the trailer that I saw, I think the movie deals with a lot of very serious issues, legal issues, moral issues. I think that it's dealing with issues related to things that we're dealing with right now, which is usually what makes a movie great. It's something that's timely and relevant and speaks to us of the time. Superman has always been a franchise that dips into these areas of philosophy and culture and just all these different things that make us who we are as human beings or aliens. So we'll get into that. Plus, Trump just causing more turmoil, more tariff stuff, even overnight, learning that he is threatening Canada with even stiffer tariffs again. It's like every day, it's something new on that front. And I will never understand some of these friends of mine, colleagues, just people I know who seem to revel in the destruction of their country or the apparent pending destruction of the country, saying, yeah, right on, Trump, where you show those liberals and the kids, yeah, good. With the elbows up or down? Like, do you usually take a sledgehammer and smash yourself in the face with it? I don't get it. Why are you cheering for something that's bad for your country, my fellow Canadians? I do not get it. But anyway, I'll bring you up to date on that. And then all the face smash, self smashing face smashers can get their sledgehammers ready to smash themselves in the face more as we talk about that. And they'll be happy about it. They're not happy unless they're miserable. Yeah. So, yeah, there's that. And Dan Bongino walked off the job today, assistant FBI director. Looks like he might resign over the Epstein files scandal, whatever that thing is. Oh, and then Trump goes down to Texas and has a roundtable discussion down there. And I am going to show you why the media is screwing with your mind, how they're screwing with your mind, how the government is screwing with your mind, and how it's not coming from just the one side or the other. It's kind of coming from both. And I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about, how they are. It's just this is stuff that has driven me crazy since my earliest days working as a journalist, and I stumbled upon it through a Google search. Oh, plus we might have a conversation with Grok tonight, because it's my understanding that Grok went off the rails yesterday and started posting a bunch of racist stuff. And so now people are perplexed. Advertisers don't know what to do. And the CEO of X or Twitter has resigned. So there's all of that too, because Grok lost its mind. Stay with me. More ahead right after this.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching.
The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
Okay, we're going to get into the Texas flood stuff and the mind control thing in a little bit, but we really should start with the tariffs, right? Because, well, that's what affects us the most, I think, up here in Kazakhstan, and it's also affecting the people in the U.S. in more ways than I think the president would like us to know. So we are going to dig into now this high stakes series of developments in this ongoing trade negotiation between Canada and the U.S. Tensions rising as tariffs also. The threat of tariffs continues to rise as well. So as of tonight, because it changes almost on an hourly basis as Trump changes his mind, we have the trade talks between Canada and the U.S. back on track after a turbulent few weeks. Negotiations, of course, resumed June 30th, following Canada's decision to scrap its controversial 3% digital services tax. Trump loses his mind when he finally realizes that this 3% tax is on social media companies after it's already been in place for like a year. It's not like a secret, but then just one day he woke up and said, "That's it. You can't do that. It's an attack on American companies," which they're not just American companies. They're global in scope. But anyway, they're multinationals, really. But anyway, but they're kind of American, I guess, if Elon Musk and his South African heritage make him American. Anyway, that tax was set to take effect June 30th. They took it off. As Trump said, "I'm stopping all the talks." Then they're back on again. On again, off again, on again, off again. Now the talks are on again. But then what happens is, well, let's just bring up the headline, shall we? So Trump says we're gonna go with 35% across the board tariffs and everything in Kazakhstan because Canada sucks. They're mean to us. They're really mean, and those Canadians are really, really hard to deal with. They're worse than our worst enemies. Trump says the friends have been worse than the foes after announcing new tariffs on Canada. Yeah, we're really mean to you. So yeah, a couple of people sent me text messages overnight. What is the Kearney gonna do now?
Heat up your summer with Paramount
With
Plus.
his elbows up. Oh, just turn that off. I'm like, I don't care anymore. I'm at the point where it's like, just get it over with, man. Like, just tell us what you want. And then like, let's just, whatever, this game that he plays where he doesn't you can't really tell what it is he wants. He wants something, but it's like a coded message. And what he has to do is he has to cap you, right? He has to take a baseball bat and smash you in the knees, or threaten to. I'm gonna smash you in the knees. And then you go, why? I'm not gonna tell you why. Because there's something else he wants. It's not ever a direct approach. So it's a guessing game. And then don't do that. I'm going to put on shin pads. No, if you put on shin pads, I'll smash you in the face and the knees. That's what's going on. How are you supposed to deal with that? Well, after a while, I'll tell you what I would be doing, but it's probably a good thing I'm not in the seat negotiating, because I would be taking a different approach. But because you only push me so far, then you find out that I've got self-respect, unlike some people who like to smash themselves in the face with a sledgehammer. I'm so glad that he is hurting us. It feels so good. Bunch of freaking masochists. So here, like, I mean, look at this. You go to this news story and it's like a play-by-play by the hour because everything changes. 10:20 a.m. Trump, we've been taken advantage of. 10:55 a.m. Canadian border, not an important part of fentanyl fight. U.S. think tank. Yeah, we know. He lies. The whole thing is a lie, and Sam Cooper is a hack. Okay, he's making the shit up. And he should shut up, because he's damaging the country. My opinion. That's my free speech. 11:20 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Tariff threat not grounded in economic logic. Yeah, that's true, because it would be much better if we work together to make each other stronger and lift each other up instead of threatening one another. Carney calls in cabinet after Trump's threats, 11:25 a.m. Yeah, because what else are you going to do? Just let him smash you in the face. Let him do it. It'll feel really good. No, because even though the tariffs hurt the U.S., and yeah, it is a tax on consumers, it's designed to, over time, take away our industries by creating incentive through coercion and penalties to get people to move production into the US. And in some cases that will work, in particular, possibly with the auto industry, because the market there is so large. Not to say that we can't have an auto industry, but it just means we have to trade more with other countries. So, but it takes time to set up those supply chains and the entire system. The auto industry was built between Canada and the US. It was something built together from the very beginning, since the early 1900s in Canada and the US. It will take time to build a new industry connected to other countries. Japan did it. And if you think that we can't, think again, Donald, because the Japanese have started shipping their cars into the United States. The Germans did it with the Volkswagen. We can do it back the other way and have mutually beneficial trade with other countries if we need to, unless, of course, you're going to invade us because you don't like who we trade with. And that seems to be the threat that is hanging over Canada right now. Our country is under attack, all right? And it's coming from that guy in the White House. That's just straight up what is going on. And I just want it to end. Just close the border. Leave us alone if that's where it's going. I'm sick of it, frankly. 1 hour, from hour to hour to hour. It's ridiculous. 12 p.m. Eastern Daylight. Hit back hard, union urges. Yeah, because you got to do something. Canada must hit back hard against the U.S. or risk losing domestic jobs, says Canada's largest private sector union, Unifor. The auto union. Yeah, the old CAW. Formerly the UAW when it was connected to the United States. I remember one of my economic professors, it was around that time when Bob White, head of the Canadian Auto Workers, at the time it was the UAW, he split the auto union away, like tore away the Canadian portion of the UAW and created the CAW. There was a split between the union. My economics professor at that time, Mr. Scaife, he said, that's a big mistake. They should keep that union together so that they're negotiating together. I think in hindsight, he had a pretty valid point because it created this linkage for the workers across the border in an industry that has always operated sort of as one industry integrated together between the two countries, like it's one market. And I remember going to quite a number of industry events where executives from the auto companies, in particular Ford, executives from Ford would say this sometimes. They treated the Canadian and U.S. markets for the auto industry as one. Their strategies, their planning for everything, they always looked at it as one market, largely. So now the split in the union, of course, creates a split between the workers and each union, the UAW, and now Unifor, because CAW became Unifor. You have the workers sort of looking out for their own interests on each side of the border. Right now, a unified voice between the workers would certainly come in handy. I think that would be part of the solution, but we don't have that, haven't had it for years. So 1 p.m. changing tariff timelines are toxic. So says, who is that quote from? Canadian Chamber of Commerce. Says, quote, what this letter to Canada does in effect is further lengthen the time for negotiations. Yeah, quite possibly. They probably won't get a deal by the 21st, July 21st deadline. Yeah. That was the deadline that they set between Carney and Trump at the G7 Leaders Summit in Alberta just a short time ago. 2:07 p.m. Jolie, economic diplomacy is more important than ever, she said. Today in Ottawa, Industry Minister Melanie Joly says economic diplomacy is more important than ever in the wake of U.S. President Donald Trump's ongoing tariff threats. Joly made the remarks in a joint media availability in Ottawa with European Commissioner, Executive Vice President for Prosperity and Industrial Stéphane Séjourne, aimed at highlighting the new partnership between Canada and the European Union to strengthen trade and economic security ties. And that's what we need to do. Not to say we can't continue to trade with the United States, and we should do as much trade with the U.S. as we possibly can. But if Trump doesn't want to, what are we going to do? We're going to go someplace else, which is what we should do. And we're not going to give up the whole country. We should give up the whole country just because this guy in the White House right now, who won't be there forever, but just because he's saying, and I'm editorializing, this is my free speech. All you people over on the other channel where you hate my guts, you can just keep on hating my guts. I don't care. Not all of you. That's just where we're kind of directing the people who hate me over to channel 2. I'm not even looking. I don't dare look. And kind words from one of my friends from far away. Thank you. And that email you sent back to me, it was just nice to know that there's still a friend out there. That's really all that was about. So I appreciate it very much. More than you know, I appreciate the kind words. Back to the story. Let's get the clip of Melanie Joly today in Ottawa. Where'd you go, Melanie? There you are. So, yeah, there she is doing her job. She's doing her job. She's meeting with these European leaders, trying to set up new trading relationships and expand on them, which is what she should be doing. And being given a hard time by some reporters, which is what a politician's job is, to deal with that stuff too. Here she is. I don't know if I'd want to be a politician today.
Today marks a significant milestone in our partnership with the launch of the new Canada-EU Industry Policy Dialogue. Together, we have pledged to deepen cooperation across these critical sectors. Our defense industries, including aerospace, marine, and tech, will be better aligned and will benefit from deeper cooperation in order that we fully recognize that peace and security are the foundation of lasting prosperity. We will develop closer supply chain, particularly in vital areas such as energy and critical minerals, and by building resilient and sustainable supply networks, we will protect not only our economic security on the EU side and on the Canadian side, but also our economies from disruption, and ultimately we will protect jobs together. Innovation lies at the core of our agenda, and through our collaboration, we will enhance manufacturing capabilities by leveraging breakthrough technologies such as quantum computing and AI. And finally, we will join our efforts in industrial decarbonization, including pioneering initiatives in green steel and green aluminum. In response to global health crisis, we are strengthening cooperation on vaccine research, manufacturing, and supply because we believe in science and we believe that our health, the health of our citizens, is at the foundation of our prosperity. So it's really, really a pleasure to have you here, my dear Stéphane. Looking forward to working very, very closely with you. My goal is to make sure that within the end of the summer, I will be going to Europe and continue to implement the action plan that we've been working on, because as I said in French, there's an emergency, and so therefore we're in action mode. Thank you so much. Après toi.
Merci beaucoup, mesdames et messieurs. Et tout d'abord, merci à Mélanie Joly pour tes mots.
Okay, I'm not going to continue to run that because it's in French, and we do not have the English translation on this feed. There wasn't in English. Let's go to the Q&A.
BC.
Hello, Minister Joly. I'm wondering what your reaction is to Donald Trump's latest tariff threat.
So thank you. Of course, we take good note of the comments made by the President, and of course we'll let the Prime Minister continue his negotiations and will not negotiate in public. These has been the answers that I've been giving to every single question since the beginning of the negotiations. What I wanted to emphasize today is, as Minister in charge of industries and of the economy, is we are not alone in this world. We need to be closer to our allies. And that is why today is so important. It's been only 15 days that the Prime Minister signed an agreement with the EU to make sure that not only, of course, that we have free trade agreement, but that we are very closely aligned on defense and on all our industrial policies. And that's why Stéphane and I today are together, because we're in solution mode and we're trying to make sure that ultimately, while the US is becoming weaker, we will become stronger and we will diversify and turn ourselves towards Europe.
We saw the Prime Minister push the deadline for these negotiations to August 1st. I'm wondering why that strategy and why not, for instance, more counter tariffs in this case?
So, as I mentioned, we'll make sure that the negotiations continues. Canada is the only country on earth, along with China, that has imposed so many counter tariffs. So we have had already a very strong response, and we want to make sure that while we are putting pressure on the American administration, that at the same time we're creating, well, first, we're protecting jobs while creating jobs. And we're making sure that we're doing this economic diplomacy, which usually would not necessarily be the case in a normal world, but we're not in normal times. And economic diplomacy is more important than ever, and that's why we need to make sure that while the U.S. is closing its market and really taking its own path regarding protectionism, that we, as a stable and democratic country, continue to have open markets, including with the EU. And that's my job. Thank you.
Bonjour, Madame Joly. Certains ont critiqué le gouvernement dans les dernières semaines d'avoir fait des concessions.
We'll get to the English. Here we go.
Canadians, but respectfully, that hasn't been happening. So
La part de l'administration Trump. En même temps,
this is the big clip
nous
from
continuons notre
the
négociation.
news conference.
Et
This is the
on doit
one
être
you
capable de
all
faire
want to
les deux.
hear.
Un point, c'est tout.
good afternoon, Minister. Your government ran on the promise of being elbows up and standing up for Canadians, but respectfully, that hasn't been happening. So do you think Canadians have been misled by the promises of your government?
I reject that premise. What I'm saying is, of course, we will make sure that we defend our workers. That has been at the core of everything we've been doing. But at the same time, we're dealing with a very unpredictable U.S. administration. We're not the only ones. That's the case for the EU, and I won't talk, of course, for my colleague Séjourné, but that's the case also for every single country on this planet. So my point is right now is that we need to make sure that we're in action mode, we're in solution mode with other countries, because we're not alone. And so that's why 15 days after the agreement that was signed between Prime Minister Carney and President von der Leyen, we're meeting here in Ottawa. And within the next week, so the end of the summer, I'll be going to Europe, because we need to make sure that our businesses, our industries in Canada, are able to have access to European markets, and same for European companies having access to Canada. And that's our goal. Because while the US will decide to undergo this protectionism path, we know that together we can be in favor of free and open markets, and that's also a really good way to negotiate.
Respectfully, Minister, there was no strong response, though, to, let's say, the increase of steel and aluminum tariffs. There was no strong response to the threat of copper tariffs incoming. Your government had to remove the DST simply just to get back to the negotiating table. So respectfully, what is the government actually doing to negotiate with the U.S. and stand up for Canadians? Well,
you know, you're pretty much asking the same question as your colleagues. My answer is always the same. We won't negotiate in public, and we'll let the Prime Minister negotiate. And, you know, it's a reality that pretty much all world leaders are dealing with right now. And of course, we're coordinating with the EU, we're coordinating with other countries that are negotiating. That's why economic diplomacy is so important right now. But fundamentally, while these negotiations are happening, we need to realign ourselves with trusted partners. And today what you're seeing is a realignment between trusted partners.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Minister. Given Trump's letter, you said you can change the tariffs.
I thought you had a question for my colleague Séjourné.
I might. You never know.
I thought that was Canadian hospitality, guys.
I might. Okay, so given Trump's letter saying he could change the tariffs depending on the relationship, how can you expect the government to negotiate with Trump and provide certainty to Canadian industry when the tariffs could change at any time?
My goal is to create certainty in a world that is very uncertain, in a world that is much more dangerous. That is the challenge of world leaders right now, of politicians that are in Stéphane and my role. And that's why being a minister in charge of the economy, in charge of industries, is so important. Why? Because we're in a trade war. The battle is the economy, and our front lines right now are the tariff sectors: steel, aluminum, auto. Now we're looking at copper, and we're taking note of what the president mentioned yesterday. But fundamentally, we can't stay idle. We won't keep our arms crossed, just looking at things and take, not be in solution mode. My focus, my priority has been to protect jobs. I'm very much aware that people in the tariff industries are very anxious. I understand that livelihoods are at stake. Meanwhile, while this is happening, we need to make sure that we're turning ourselves towards Europe or turning ourselves also towards trusted partners in Asia. And that won't happen by fluke. It will happen because we're meeting, we're discussing, we're taking decisions, and then we're implementing them. And that's what you're seeing today in full force.
Maybe a question for both of you then.
Yeah.
Like you said, 10 European nations have not signed onto CETA.
Sorry, can you repeat?
10 European nations have not ratified CETA.
Yeah.
So you're putting a lot of emphasis on Europe and focus on Europe. Is that smart given that it's not fully implemented in Europe?
So I think what is really important is CETA is implemented. It is happening every single day. Every time you go to the grocery store, you can see so many European products. Every time you are in a sector, you can have access to the different jurisdictions in the EU, notwithstanding the fact that it's not been ratified by 10 of all the member states. But in order to make sure that there is truly a secure partnership, we need to make sure that ratification is done, and that's why we need to make sure that these 10 countries are ratifying. So maybe Stéphane, you want to add to that?
Just before one comment, but another question, Baptiste. Il n'y a pas que la relation avec les États-Unis au niveau commercial. Je tenais juste à vous le redire par rapport à vos questions, et on a les mêmes débats et les mêmes questions au Canada. D'abord parce qu'on a beaucoup de...
French. And we have like 99.9% English people watching, so here we go.
The Lac des Îles graphite mine yesterday, and spoke at great length about the need to the European Union's belief that they need to obviously accelerate development of the sector. He underlined this again in his comments today. I mean, what is your view currently on how this might help Canada actually accelerate a sector that's at the crossroads right now?
Well, referring to critical minerals, what we're clearly seeing is that there's lots of interest from many countries, particularly countries from the European Union, looking to invest in Canada. And for years we've been looking for capital. For years we've been looking at investors to develop the potential of these great mines. And I'm really happy to see that finally it's happening. Why? Because also we know that we can be part of this very secure supply chains for these very key critical minerals which underpin our economic security. And while there's geopolitical tensions right now, we cannot have only one country in the world that is the source of critical minerals. We need to make sure that many others are able to develop the potential of critical minerals, and that's the case, actually, for Canada.
Very good. And then could you define dialogue for me, please, in this case?
Okay, enough of this for now. This is obviously a story that's going to continue to develop over time. And it will develop rapidly because we have that deadline of the 21st. I don't know if that's even realistic at this point, unless it's a very trimmed down, bare bones kind of deal. And I'll tell you, the deals that Trump has been getting with other countries, he doesn't really have many, and they aren't really deals. They're sort of frameworks for deals, which is like what we saw come out of the UK. It isn't really a trade deal. It's a framework for a deal. So they'll continue to work on it. I suspect we'll end up with something like that around the 21st. This is meh. A lot of concern, a lot of worried workers out there, a lot of people with families wondering what is going to happen over the next few weeks, and will they have jobs in the coming year? I don't know, but I'm still optimistic. This is typical Trump stuff. But it's irresponsible. It's completely unnecessary. I'm tired of it. I just wish the guy would say, I want this. And like I said, get it over with, whatever it is. And if you're going to invade, I've got the barbecue. Okay. Just come on up, show your true colors and invade now. Like, just end the pain. Okay. And we'll put the barbecue on and we'll sit and we'll talk about it. Because some people are seriously worried that that might happen. If we pivot to Europe, or if we do more trade with China in response to all of this, it's a national security threat. The United States will invade and we'll lose our sovereignty. And at this point, it could happen. It's that stupid. This is absolutely insane. And it is a possible scenario, I guess, because it seems they even have a plan to use force to take Greenland if they need to, because he really, really, really seems to want it. This is the craziest, most insane time of my lifetime. Stay with me. More ahead. Wow.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, the MAGA meltdown continues tonight. Have you guys seen this? Maybe not. Maybe it's something you're seeing for the first time right here. Well, I'm not breaking the story, but I'm going to show you the headline over on NBC. Dan Bongino weighs resigning from the FBI after a heated confrontation with Pam Bondi over, you guessed it, the Epstein files. Here, check it out.
Shakeup at the FBI. Now to our new reporting about a potential shakeup at the FBI over a disagreement about how much information to release involving the death of Jeffrey Epstein. Gabe Gutierrez is at the White House tonight. Gabe, this involves a top leader at the Bureau?
Yes, Tom. Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino is considering resigning after a heated confrontation with Attorney General Pam Bondi. That's according to a person who has spoken with Bongino and a source familiar with his interactions with Bondi. One of the sources saying Bongino is, quote, out of control furious at the Justice Department, is not releasing more information about Jeffrey Epstein, and is threatening to quit unless Bondi is fired. Now, during his time as a podcaster, Bongino questioned whether there'd been a cover-up over Epstein's death. In response to all this, the White House now says, quote, the continued fixation on sowing division in President Trump's cabinet is baseless and unfounded in reality. Tom?
All right, Gabe, we thank you.
Tonight, this. So, yeah, the meltdown continues within the MAGA ranks. There's a Turning Point USA event on, too. They were talking about that over there to some degree. And this is Steve Bannon calling all this out as well. The thing is, it's like, what if there really is no client list? And if that's at the core of all of this, and I think it's a little more complicated than that, but consider the possibility that all the hype, all of the bluster over the years turns out to be just that. Predictions, speculation, that there really is no client list. And now the people who were saying that there was and insisting that it was all being hidden, now they're in charge and they're empty-handed. See, that's the real possibility here. Not to say that there weren't bad things that went on the island. To be sure, there were. We know that. But as for the client list, it's entirely possible, I think maybe even probable at this point, that there is no black book or client list. Although I saw a list posted on social media today, I'm not going to show it to you because I think it's fake. It's just a list of names that somebody came up with, and they're saying, oh, here it is right here. Obviously, it's not the official release. But what are they going to do now? This is the problem, I think, because even as they were sitting there, I think that they were too quick off the mark, got out over their skis, if you want to put it that way.
The only way this thing, the firestorm, passes is if the 5 to 10 to maybe 15% of the Trump movement, the Pepes and the hardcores, many of whom are in this audience, just say, I've had enough of it. The Epstein situation gets down to one basic question. One basic question. Who governs this country, right? Who governs this country? Is it a shadowy network of intelligence, MI6, Saudi intelligence, the Mossad, CIA, elements of DNI with other international financiers and corporations and governments? Or do the people of the United States govern? All that information has come out, and the people have to weigh and measure it itself. This is the most populist thing we can do right now. The only way...
This is a dangerous scenario because if there is no client list and you have this frenzied mob, looking for justice or demanding accountability, it turns into a witch hunt. You need to be very careful you deal with this stuff in a factual way. The thing is, people are furious over the client list. The truth is, they have all the other evidence. And if there have been crimes committed, I think they have the evidence right in front of them. And then it's just up to them to proceed with charges. They apparently have thousands of hours of video footage of what? Stuff off the internet, or was it surveillance camera footage? Do you not see faces? Do you not see who these people are? Were they engaged in specific acts? Are there legitimate complaints from victims? You say that you know who the victims are or were. Allegations? Do they not want to press charges? Do they not want to pursue things legally? That's how things should be proceeding. If you have evidence, if you have video surveillance camera footage confiscated, but then you're dealing with privacy issues too, right? Were these cameras placed in locations where they ought not to have been? Were these cameras violating people's rights? These are legal questions on the U.S. side, which I do not have the expertise to really address. I'm not familiar enough with U.S. law and people's rights under the U.S. Constitution. And given that this happened on this island, where it's not like a full state, there's some slight differences too in the way the law is applied there. Not to say that people on the island were exempt from U.S. law or the laws as they pertain to the U.S. Constitution. They still can be held accountable under U.S. law. So that's how you proceed. That's what you should be telling the public. Pam Bondi clearly is not smart enough. None of these people are apparently smart enough to say that you're going to pursue it that way. But the problem might be that this might not be, it might not go as deep as the frenzied mob imagines that it does, because it has been built up in people's minds so much that it's at a fever pitch. It has been for years. And now people want blood. And if you don't give it to them, you can't deliver the goods. They're freaking out. And it's causing this split in the MAGA movement. So deliver up the people for the trials, or you're going to have a big problem. And at this point, because it's become so conspiratorial, you don't know what the truth is, even as they are trying to tell you the truth, and you won't accept it. Even if they put people on trial and put people in jail or worse, people still will not be satisfied, because I think they will still think there are other people that are connected, linked, and they'll want justice or accountability for them. This is the problem with the frenzied mob rule that is sort of glomming on to the justice system in the United States, and has been for quite a while. This is a strange turn of events. Are you following what I'm saying? I'm just trying to be straight up and honest with you in my assessment of this thing. And there's been so much media around it as well that has been sensationalistic and clickbaity that a lot of people are very, I think, off center with their view on it, their perspective. It's skewed a bit. It's distorted. We'll have to let it play out, and we'll see if any other people are held accountable on this stuff. I don't know. Clearly, if there are crimes that have been committed, they must have enough evidence to proceed on some front with this. But then again, you have to consider what the victims want to do too, whoever they might be. And that's the thing too. Sometimes people who have been abused don't want to pursue it. They want to put it behind them, and they don't want to deal with it. Again, who knows? Who knows? And Bongino, is he going to actually end up leaving as a result of this? I don't know. The controversy, of course, centers around that memo released Monday, which concluded that Epstein died by suicide in 2019 and had no incriminating client list. It just contradicts years of conspiracy theories and even, I think, some truthful things. And a lot of it was amplified by Dan Bongino himself. But you've got that combined with surveillance footage. And then, somebody sent me a link to this Wired report that was from some time ago, using cell phone data to, I guess, try to suggest that they had the goods on the culprits, the bad actors, the pedophiles, because they were able to use this data to track cell phones that went to Epstein's island. But as I went through the article and watched the video, I realized that this was also sensationalistic, that people just looking at the headline, and even after watching the video, you're left with the impression that the journalists at Wired had the goods, that they knew who these people were, but they never release any names. And the truth of the matter is they don't have the names, because if you really look at the information they convey and where they got the cell phone data, they got it from companies that track cell phones for advertising purposes. And the data that they get from the phones is anonymized. All that they really were able to show through that report in the end was that they could show general patterns of demographics and where these cell phones came from, which is to say that they came from more affluent areas. The people who went to the island, generally speaking, were people who were from more affluent areas and in around general areas, and say like downtown New York, Manhattan. They were able to trace some cell phones there. Some in the general vicinity had been to the area around Trump Tower. Data like that. But when you see, I know a little bit about online marketing, and you can purchase this data in real time in order to put ads in front of people on a cell phone. But because of privacy laws, constitutional rights, the companies, they don't really get the exact identity of the person who owns the phone. it's anonymized data. So, and it doesn't always, it's a complicated system, but the data comes back through. It's not like so they're using cookies to track where these devices are, and it pushes ads that are related to their cell phone activity or their online internet activity and what they've been searching for. They put the ads in front of these people based on their online search and what they've been clicking on, but you never actually know who the person is. It's not like they had the call, the call records. They don't have the phone numbers. They don't know where they were phoning, who they were phoning. It's their internet activity that they're tracking without knowing who the person actually is. And all that stuff there's a system in place to make sure that those people's identities are hidden. So they're really it's about demographics. That's the information that they had for that Wired article. Proves nothing. Proves absolutely nothing. And even if they had been able to track that data directly to a phone and associate it with an actual owner, even then you would not be able to say definitively for use in court on its own that that person was at this place and committed a crime. You're just maybe placing the phone there, and then you'd have to prove that the person was in possession of the phone. There are other layers of evidence that you need to add to that in order to make it even admissible in court. That in the end, the article really didn't have much value at all, but it makes the headline, everything about it makes it look like they've got the evidence. They know who these people are. They're not revealing the names because they never had the names, and they still don't, and they can't get them using that kind of methodology and that kind of data. It's not possible. I don't even know if what I'm saying makes sense to anybody. It's complicated, but it's anonymized data so that they don't know whose cell phones it is that they're actually tracking, and they don't know. They can track them to certain locations at certain times, but they don't know who they belong to. That being said, let's move on, because this story is going to continue on and on and on and on and on, and it's not good for the president. He's going to have to squirm his way out of this one. It's not good for the MAGA movement. Again, dysfunctional administration. I said this just heading into it as we were watching this government begin to form near the end of the election. And as he was elected, I said, and we had conversations about this on the program. I've had telephone conversations extensively with a few people. This administration is going to fracture. It's going to fly apart. They're going to self-destruct. A lot of the people within the Trump team, they're going to split off because they're coming from different political camps. It's hard to keep them together. They have different agendas, different political views, very different, coming from different ends of the political spectrum in many cases. And you're seeing it even now, this fracturing taking place within, between Pam Bondi and Dan Bongino. And a lot of it, too, is people trying to save their political butts because they're way out on a limb. Bongino, politically, he's in hot water. He's in deep doo-doo. Because why? He contributed to the whole, show me that list. They've got that list. They're hiding everything, and it's a big... And if they don't deliver it, then it just proves they're corrupt, and they're just hiding it. Well, now they're in charge, and they can't deliver the goods. So now he's throwing her under the bus, and it's a bloody mess. And there will be no satisfying the MAGA base on this. A lot of them. Because pedophilia is at the core of the belief system. And the Epstein thing is at the core of the core. So they've got it and they want it. They're out for blood. And some of them just, it's a bit of a distorted reality. So, not to say there isn't a problem there. There is, but we shall see. Same thing with the chemtrails, and now Nicole Shanahan today exposing all the dirt on the chemtrails and geoengineering. I started to read some of it. I couldn't get through enough of it today to comment all that much on what she was posting. I'm skeptical because it's coming out ahead of the government, the EPA releasing. They say they're going to release everything they have on geoengineering, and that all segues into Trump's visit today to Texas. All of like that announcement coming to like yesterday, right as a prelude to Trump going to Texas for this roundtable discussion in the wake of this horrific, tragic flash flood out of Texas. And we've got Trump's visit here. I'm not going to run the whole thing, but we'll pick up his public roundtable discussion here for you, partway through, if indeed this is going to cooperate for us. Well, let's just bring it over here onto this tab instead. It'll be a little open for me, so I'll bring Donald up over here. Okay, here we go.
First of all, Mr. President, First Lady, a long time ago, I asked a pastor when I was going to see a hospital, a person in the hospital who didn't have long to live, and I said, what do I say? And they said, don't worry about what you say, just be there. So you and Madam First Lady, the two of you being here, sends a message. It paints a picture that words can't express, and it gives them hope. And the people of this community have become a family. I didn't know the mayor last week. I wish I didn't know him today under these circumstances. But we've become a family around this room, and it starts with you at the top, down to the governor, down to the statewides, down to the secretary. I mean, Kristi Noem coming in, she called Saturday morning and said, the president wants me to be there today. And she came. And so that message is so important. Two things will get us through: our faith, so the people along this river are not standing on the rock of the bank of the river, they're standing on the rock of their faith. And that will get them through the struggles that you talk about. But you and the federal government will help us get through everything, all the debris that has to be taken, all the rebuilding. And I know we can count on you. So from the bottom of my heart, on behalf of all of these families, thank you for being here. You just can't measure how much it means to them.
Thank you very much, David. Great job. Appreciate it. Do you want to take a couple of questions, Governor? Would you want to do that? Do you want to? Sure. Is the press going to be respectful of this event, this horrible event, this horrible tragedy? Please, yes. Go ahead, please.
Marissa Atmas here with CBS News Texas. Several families we've heard from are obviously upset because they say that those warnings, those alerts didn't go out in time, and they also say that people could have been saved. What do you say to those families?
Well, I think everyone did an incredible job under the circumstances. This was, I guess Kristi said, a 1 in 500, 1 in 1,000 years. And I just have admiration for the job that everybody did. There was just admiration. The only bad person would ask a question like that, to be honest with you. I don't know who you are, but only a very evil person would ask a question like that. I think this has been heroism. This has been incredible, really, the job you've all done.
Evil?
It's easy to sit back and say, oh, what could have happened here or there, you know. Maybe we could have done something differently. This was a thing that has never happened before.
Yes, it has.
And nobody's ever seen anything. I've never seen anything like this. I've gone to some real bad ones.
Yes, you have, Don.
I've never seen anything like this. So I admire you, and I consider you heroes and heroine. And I think you've done an amazing job. Brian, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I could ask you, who was the first person to contact you to notify you that this tragedy was unfolding?
Probably Kristi, but I was notified by a lot, and Chip called also. Chip was here for, he thought it was going to be a little flood, he was going to miss the signing for the big, beautiful bill, and he called to apologize. He said he's going to be delayed because of a little flood, and the little flood turned out to be the biggest flood anyone's ever seen. So Chip, but Christie called right away. She was there. I looked the next morning. She was right there on the ball. So
I just want to say, as a native Texan, I've received hundreds of messages. I told you that the other day, but I want to tell our representatives that are here in the crowd today, thank you for your response. This is Texas Strong. President Trump, this is America First policy in terms to responding to a tragedy like this. Thank you on behalf of Texas as well.
Thank you very much. Well, that's a nice reporter. That's a nice question. That's a nice, but I like his statement even better. Thank you very much, Brian. That's very nice. Yeah, please, go ahead.
This is a secret of the used car market, but many people still don't know it. This groundbreaking car spray will make your car look brand new without costing a fortune. It will remove...
Hang on, we'll go back to him. Taking me just a moment. Here we go. We're going back to Trump now.
Based in Texas, and there's not a person in our state who hasn't been impacted by this tragedy. But what's been so disheartening recently are these ghouls on the left, like Jasmine Crockett and the left-wing media, who want to point fingers and play partisan games and fundraise off of this crisis. And what I love about Texas is we come together in a crisis across party lines, ideological lines. So what is your message, and maybe Governor Abbott as well, to these folks on the left who are using this to gain partisan points in viral videos?
Well, I'll start off by just saying, you know, they've lost their confidence. They've had a tremendous run of bad talent. I don't say bad luck, I say bad talent. And all they want to do is criticize. And I hope we can someday be bipartisan, but all they like to do is criticize. And they're getting just absolutely clobbered because everyone sees what an incredible job the governor did. Everybody in this room, everybody at this table in particular, but everybody in this room did an incredible job. And the public knows it. You know, the public's wise to it. They have automatic, they have their soundbite, they send out a soundbite, and it's supposed to be, you know, you're supposed to say that, and if you don't say that, they throw you out of the party. No, they've lost, honestly, they've lost their confidence. I see some of the people they're putting forward, and those people will only ruin our nation. Our nation, a year ago, was dead, and it was going down, but it was dead, and now we have the most successful nation anywhere in the world. You take a look. I was with the King of Saudi Arabia. I was with the leaders of the world recently at NATO. Every one of them said the same thing. They said, you know, it's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Your nation was dead 1 year ago, and now you have the hottest nation. It's the hottest nation, hottest in quotes. It's the hottest nation anywhere in the world. Every leader is saying that we're the hottest nation in the world. We've all gotten together. We've done a great job. This state has been unbelievable. I work so well with the governor and with your senators and with everybody in this state. We get it done. We've had some pretty big problems here with the floods and all the different things that we've worked out, and we respond very quickly, and they respond very quickly, and they spend their money wisely. You know, we give them a lot of money, but they spend it wisely. I can't say that's true always. Sometimes we give money and they don't spend it so wisely. They spend it very, very foolishly. So, Governor, do you want to say a few words?
Sure. You know, one thing that you pointed out that we all know about Texans is part of our bloodstream, and that is we're Texas tough. We're made for challenges. I read a piece the other day. I'll just quote one line from, and that is, when the rivers rise, so do we, and we rise to the occasion. And the way that we do that is by everybody working together. We are one team united. We are Texans, and fighting as Texans, we're going to rebuild not just Kerrville or Hunt or Kerr County, but across the entire state, across regions. We're going to come together and fight together and ensure that we elevate even better, keeping foremost in mind exactly what Dr. Phil was talking about. As we rebuild, we've got to constantly comfort the families of those who have suffered a loss. Those two things combined, and we will be our quintessential selves, and that is Texas tough, Texas resilient.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. President, first
the
of all,
blue shirt.
Thank you for
right over here. Go ahead.
I'll wait for Chip. He's my representative. I'll wait for him.
Mr. President, if I could just jump in and just say one thing, which is I can't thank you enough. When I called you on Friday, you said whatever you need. When I called the secretary's office, she called me within 15 minutes and said, whatever you need, and then she came here this weekend. I've never seen such a quick response and such a focus on delivering for the people. But importantly, I want to thank all of my colleagues in the House sitting right over there. Every single one of them called me personally. Every single one of them reached out to this team that the governor was just talking about, the team effort to deliver for the people of Texas. They're here now, not here to microphone. They're here just to be here because they believe in this state and they believe in what you're doing as the president, and they believe in what the governor's doing. And importantly, this morning, I was at a press conference for the Community Foundation of the Hill Country, which has raised over $30 million from the great people of this state and from around the country. And they sent checks out today of $5 million to people in this community to help them with cash for people, for small businesses, first responders, and all the people that need help to reunite. And the final point I'll just say, for all of the media clamoring to ask that ridiculous first question and try to point fingers, the governor said it best when he said that pointing fingers is for losers. This state is about looking forward, and we'll figure out how to make our systems the best they can be. But importantly, when you see 26 feet of water rising a foot per minute, don't go around pointing fingers. The people in this community rallied around to help people, and that's the enduring image. Those little girls from Camp Mystic who were singing hymns as they watched the damage as they left that camp coming out of there. And that's who the people of Texas are. And I thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. And, 2 words, unity and competence. If you were to ask me 2 words that I've seen here, one is unity. The unity has been unbelievable. And then the competence of the Coast Guard and some of the people within the Coast Guard that saved a lot of lives. They went out and they saved a lot of lives. But there were others other than the Coast Guard. But I would say competence and unity, the way everyone has just pulled together. It's rare that you see this.
If you are sleeping in a position like this, you are wrecking your body and
– Eruption there. We're back. Hang on. Let me run a little transition while we get rid of this little hiccup here technically. I'll be right back on the other side.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, we're back. Sorry about that hiccup where we got disconnected, but we're back. Now, I'm going to move on from the news conference. That the other thing I'm really getting tired of is the way Trump attacks reporters every time they're asked any kind of a difficult question. You're disrespectful, in this case, evil. No, these are questions that a lot of Texans are asking. They're legitimate questions about preparedness, budget cuts, weather warning systems. Is Trump and his policies, have they contributed to the problem? Will this, or what's being done to make sure that safety measures are taken to prevent deaths in the future? What have we learned from this? No, it's not appropriate for him to sit there and point the finger at the media and call a reporter asking a legitimate question evil. That's browbeating. That's intimidation. That is a form of censorship and cancel culture. No, keep asking the questions, and you damn well should. You damn well better, because that's your damn job. especially when you have so many dead people. Did it have to happen? A lot of people say no. That's why if you go right now, you can find a lot of people doing other work, taking a look at this. Here's a post from a group of people looking at what went on in Camp Mystic, saying that, yes, Camp Mystic is in a flood zone, a known flood zone where they've had repeated flooding over, well, since recorded history. And not only was the camp in a flood zone, but some cabins were located in areas that some county officials had deemed extremely hazardous. Here, I've got some video to share with you. I'll bring it up here. One moment. And then I'm going to show you how they're screwing with your mind. So here's the map. So cabins at Camp Mystic, Texas youth camp, where 27 people died, had long sat in a flood zone. And you can see that it's marked here. These are the cabins. This is the flood risk area. They have buildings right in there. Now, I haven't visited the site, obviously. I've been to Texas quite a number of times. I haven't been here. But these are legitimate questions. Why shouldn't a reporter ask? You're not evil for asking. You're brave, especially when you have the President of the United States attacking you like that in a news conference. No, keep asking. Damn right. Hats off to you. Now, they also had at that camp a no cell phone policy, not only for the kids, but apparently even for the counselors. And there are documents showing that as well. But what I stumbled upon this. This is something that's going to illustrate what I've been trying to tell people for a long time here. They're screwing with your mind. The media makes you neurotic. This is something that has bothered me since earliest days in journalism. They give you conflicting messages. They exaggerate things. They engage in clickbait art now. It used to be just, build the ratings. Never let the truth get in the way of a good story. Some reporters actually took that to heart, I think. Not me. I always pushed back against that stuff. But yeah, sensationalism, it's a problem. So with regard to this, first of all, let me show you this headline. And they talked about this in the news conference. And Trump repeated the line, a 1 in 1,000 year weather event. Okay? 1 in 1,000 years. Misleading. I reported on it last night, and it bothered me when I reported on it because I thought a 1 in 1,000 year weather event, when I already know that we have a history of flooding in that area. How can it be a 1 in 1,000 year weather event when we've seen this happen before? Oh, it never happens before. Yes, it has. And I'll list them again. September 1869 flood. One of the earliest recorded. 1932, July. Guadalupe River crested at 35 to 39 feet, wiping out Camp Mystic. Completely wiped out the camp in 39. Sorry, 32. That was 1932. 1936. Guadalupe River again, 4 years later. Another massive flood. 1952. Another significant flood event. July 1978, because of Tropical Storm Amelia. I was alive. 20 miles south of Camp Mystic in Kerr County. 48 inches of rain dumped Storm resulted in 33 fatalities across Texas and $110 million in damages. 1987, July, 15 miles from Camp Mystic. Heavy rainfall, 11 inches. River crested, 37.4 feet, flooding the Pot of Gold Christian camp near Comfort. 10 teenagers died when floodwaters swept away buses, evacuating campers. Oh, but it's 1 in 1,000 years, right? 1991, Guadalupe River, Kerr County, a major flood event along the Guadalupe River. It's all in the history books. Specific impacts on Camp Mystic are not documented, but the flooding affected Kerr County and surrounding areas. And then in 1997, not so very long ago, another significant flood along the Guadalupe River, adding to the region's history of flood events. Details on specific damages or fatalities limited in available records tonight, but it happened. And then 1 year later, Guadalupe River and nearby areas, another flood led to flooding along the river, killing 31 people across central Texas. 2002, 20 miles north, the Guadalupe River raged over the spillway at Canyon Dam, caused significant flooding downstream. Didn't directly impact Camp Mystic. The event did affect the broader Guadalupe River basin, though. And in 2015, the Blanco River near Wimberley, Texas, adjacent to the Guadalupe River basin. It primarily affected the Blanco River, and that flood killed 13 people. Again, in the same kind of area. June 12th, 2025, this year. San Antonio. It was a flash flood, killed 13 people. And then July 4th, 2025, this year. And we saw what happened there with the river rising between 26 and 29 feet in just 45 minutes. 121 people confirmed dead so far, including 27 of the campers and counselors at Camp Mystic. 94 of the fatalities in Kerr County alone. So they do call that Flash Flood Alley, and the Texas Hill Country, particularly along the Guadalupe River, is prone to flash flooding due to its unique geography, steep hills, shallow limestone soil that repels water, and narrow riverbeds that funnel runoff rapidly. You combine all of these things, and it's pretty clear that you need to have emergency plans in place. We're told that Camp Mystic must have had one because government officials signed off on it and said, yeah, you've got an emergency plan, but apparently they just have to have a plan. They don't actually have to present it and get it approved. So that's another issue. But Trump is down there playing politics, frankly, at that news conference. And I, as a journalist, as a reporter, I take exception to politicians who sit there and point the finger at journalists and browbeat them and criticize them and cancel them just because they ask tough questions, which is their job. And I don't care who's the president or who the politician is. That's what a journalist does. So live with it. And they're so mean to me. That's not being mean. That was a respectful question, and that's something a lot of people are asking about. But you know what I ask about all the time is like, is this real? Is this truthful today? Is this information that I'm getting, is it accurate? Well, this story, NBC, the 1 in 1,000 year weather event, right? So let me show you the headline here again. This is where I'm going to show you how they screw with your mind, not just NBC, but the media in general. And I don't even know if the people at NBC were doing this intentionally, because I don't think they got this information straight up. I think that this came down through the media ecosystem, which I understand how it works. It's a top-down system with the primary or the main media outlets like Associated Press, New York Times, the wire services, and then a lot of it gets fed in to the top of the funnel from news releases and government, the White House. They dump information in there, and then it gets sort of cycled at the top of the funnel with the main national and international media outlets, and then it trickles down through the wire services all the way down into your local media, where they pick up those national stories. They're doing their stories at the local level, but those national and international stories they get through the funnel, right? And even through some of the big magazines. So NBC ran this. This is what I reported on last night. U.S. rocked by 4 1 in 1,000 year storms in less than a week. And I thought, wow, like, how can that be? How can you get that much in such a short period of time? And I'm going to go to the chat here, and you tell me, hey, Dragon, do me a favor, will you? I'm gonna open the phone line here, and can you call in? Because I want you to join me on this conversation, just so I have somebody to talk to about it, to bounce a couple of things off, so I can get your reaction as we talk about this. I see you're in the chat there. Are you cool with that? You'd be my wingman on this to help me explain what I'm going to show you. It's something that drives me crazy with the way the media and the government screws with our heads. I'm going to open the phone line. Here we go. Let me take a little break while I try to get Dragon on the line. Maybe we'll get somebody else if he's not available, but I'd just like somebody to bounce this off. Okay, so stick with me. Going to be right back right after this.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so the phone lines are set up there. So let's see if we can get Dragon on here. I'll put the number on the bottom of the screen there, Dragon, in case you don't remember what it is. Yeah, so you can call Dragon at, there it is on the bottom, 1-647-734-4220. And then there's the PIN number for you to dial in at 860-075-764. We're going to talk about Superman 2 tonight, so you can help me with that as well, maybe, if you want to, while you're on the line. There's the phone number. So again, let me just show you this while we wait for Dragon to call in. If somebody else wants to call in, you can, but I want my wingman. Okay, cool. All right, he says sure. So there's the number. He'll be calling in just a moment. And I'm going to put this up on the screen for you. In fact, what I'll do is I'll do it on the other system so that he can it'll be part of the whole thing over there. You don't understand what I'm talking about. I have to put the graphics and things on in through the phone system so that everybody can hear everybody else. Okay. And there we go. Okay, so Dragon will be calling in momentarily. Let me run a little promo here, and we'll come back on the other side, and I'll put that phone number up on the screen for everybody. And then after I kind of get through this thing with Dragon, we can get into this conversation about Superman and superheroes, and you can talk about who your favorite superhero is as we segue then into the Maverick Midnight Matinee episode, which is going to feature something unique tonight. It'll be a triple feature. It's Superman based, and you're going to love it. I'm certain of that. Well, I hope you love it. Okay, Dragon's there, but let me run this. Well, you know what? No, we'll just save some time. We don't need to since he's there now. We'll just go straight to him. There you are, sir. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm okay. Thank you for calling in. I appreciate your help with this. It's just going to make it more effective and clearer for people if I can have it as a conversation with you. So,
sure.
Okay. So you see this headline, right? I'm gonna try and show people something here. When you see that, what does that mean to you? 1 in 1,000 year storms, a 1 in 1,000 year storm. What does that mean to you in your mind? How would you interpret that? Probably the same way I did yesterday.
Well, it's happening once in a lifetime kind of thing,
right?
Which is, yeah, that's what I think it means.
Right. So basically, when I read that, I'm like, holy smokes, this is a storm that only happens like once in 1,000 years. It's that big, that catastrophic. Like it only ever happens once in 1,000 years. And then you just kind of move on, right? And because that's the conclusion that you come to. And even as I read the story, let me come back to it here so I can see it. I'll just scroll down. So first the river rose in Texas, then the rains fell hard over North Carolina, New Mexico, and Illinois. In less than a week, there were at least 4 1 in 1,000 year rainfall events across the United States. Intense deluges that are thought to have roughly a 0.1% chance of happening in any given year. How can that be? What do you make of that?
There's some exaggeration. There's some spinning here to make sure that people think that it doesn't happen that often,
right?
Which is the contrary.
Yeah. So it's there. If you read that, and what I take away from that, the way that that's written, these storms are so big that this is something that you would only see like once in 1,000 years, but we had 4 of them in a month. And then, of course, now your head is spinning and you're like, well, how can that possibly be? What the heck is going on? So, of course, there has to be something causing this. And what do you think, Dragon, the reasons might be that they would identify for this?
Okay, well, I know that they probably have spun the idea that it's geo-engineering
Some people,
thing.
Yep.
But I would probably also suggest that it could be possible, but we also have cycles where the weather always changed to a certain degree.
Yep, that explanation too.
So there's a scientific way to explain it to a certain degree.
And the third explanation might be, and is being cited here, is climate change. So you've got these 3 possibilities: man-made climate change, geoengineering, which is also a form of man-made climate change, intentional, and the third one, which is that it's a natural progression, that the weather changes over time. It isn't necessarily a result of the activities of man or humans, but the weather changes over time, and we're just getting into a pattern of more extreme weather, which is a natural phenomenon. Fair? Those are the 3 possible explanations, right? But what if I told you there's a different explanation?
Well, I say be my guest, because now I'm paddling.
Right. So you're like me. Okay, that's the first impression I got, was that something's going on. What could it possibly be? As a result, I even had a phone call last night from where I was I actually phoned the other person, and it came up in the conversation, but they were convinced that this is the result of geoengineering, that they'd been cloud seeding, which they were in like an area about 100. I looked it up after this person told me that they'd been cloud seeding in the area. It happened 150 miles away. And that is a real thing. Cloud seeding is a real thing. I've never disputed that, but he doesn't believe in chemtrails. He's so closed-minded. No, I believe that they do cloud seeding because it is documented. It is true. But And so the person that I spoke to was absolutely convinced that, well, I don't know if they were absolutely convinced, but they said they're messing with the weather. It could be that the flash flooding is a result of them messing with the weather. And if you mess with it over here, you're going to get an even bigger result over there. See, they think that it might be just because of reckless man-made man intervention in the weather. Okay.
Well, we're speaking about a butterfly effect.
Yeah, that's kind of what they were getting at, right? A legitimate, of something that you could sit there and go, yeah, okay, maybe that could possibly be it. Not denying something weird seems to be going on, but it's not that, Dragon. That isn't what it is. I know what it is. It's them messing with your mind. Here's what and here's how they're doing it. It's not even that complicated, but it's very deceptive. It's dangerous. It's not right. It drove me nuts when I was working in the mainstream media. And they're not the only ones doing it. They're doing it on all sides. Government does it. Let me find what I'm going to. Okay, here it is. Here's my proof. Okay. It is a 1 in 1,000 year weather event, all of them. But you have to put it in the proper context. You have to look at what they're doing with the statistics. All right, because you can make stats say pretty much anything you want. That's how they're doing this.
Yeah, that's true. Stat can say whatever you want if you don't take every relation with every compound of information.
So here is what I'm getting at. Here's another little piece of the puzzle. It's an important piece. This is a Google search. You just type in, what did I put in? Forbes 1 in 1,000 years. I added the name of the magazine because I'd just done 1 in 1,000 year storm event or flood or whatever. And I kind of found this result accidentally last night as I was researching it because I said, this doesn't make sense. I need to dig into this. And it didn't take me long to figure it out. So these tabs, they're not properly marked when I am in the phone system. So I have to use my memory game to remember what to click on. Okay, let me just bring this down, bring that down. All right. See this search? Here's the search results. Here's Forbes magazine, and you're finding the headline here. So NBC had the story, but it originated, I think, if not here, then this is close to the top of the information funnel or ecosystem, all right? And this is the interesting thing, Dragon. The really interesting thing. See there? Look at this. 1 in 1,000 year weather event as extreme rain and blah, blah, blah. Okay? July 10th, 2023. 2023. Well, what the heck is that? It's 2025. Isn't that the headline for today's story? Let's scroll down. Oh, look at this. U.S. has seen 4 1 in 1,000 year rainfall events. This, and the headline continues if you click on it, August 10th, 2022. That's 2 years in a row. Same magazine, almost identical headline. This one here, almost identical on the headline to what we're seeing on NBC this year in 2025. Oh, wait a minute. We're not done. Right below that. What does a 100 or 1,000 year rain event actually mean? This story again. What year is this? 2015. Same magazine. And there, right there, 1 day ago, there's the NBC article, which I had up on the screen in the search result. U.S. rocked by 4 1 in 1,000 year storms in less than a week.
So that's a headline spin and recycling.
Here's what they're doing, Dragon. And then right down here again, 2023, here's why flooding could get more intense as planet. And then, of course, Forbes is citing climate change, right? And then down there, another climate change article from Forbes. So they're on the climate change side. this is not an accident. This is not a coincidence. They're recycling this story. Well, how can they do that and make it legitimate and not lie? Any idea? Any idea how they're doing that?
It's kind of, I don't know. This is the part where I'm not yet getting it.
Right. Because this is complicated and this is how they're screwing with you. All right. The information that they're citing is government data. It is legitimate. It is true. But what they're not really explaining in the article is that it's sort of like getting hit by lightning. How often do you get hit by lightning?
Wow.
You ever been hit by lightning?
Never.
No, me either. But do people get struck by lightning every year?
Yeah.
Right. Let's look up that stat, shall we? I don't know the number. I'm going to look it up right now. So if you get struck by lightning, how likely is that to happen? Any guess? Just, this is sort of a sidebar. It's not critical, but how many people do you think get hit by lightning? Take a wild guess. I'm going to say 150. What's your guess?
10,000 people a year?
10,000?
A year?
Okay. I have no idea. It's pretty rare, I know that. But a lot of people live in the U.S., so it could be quite a bit. 20 to 25 people. On average, about 20 to 25 people are killed by lightning strikes in the United States each year, with hundreds more injured. This data also coming from the National Weather Service. And over the last 30 years, the U.S. averaged 43 lightning fatalities annually. But more recent data shows an average of 27 deaths per year. And the Center for Disease Control estimates around 240,000 people are struck by lightning annually in the U.S. So 240,000 people struck by lightning every year. And they have about anywhere, so I guess between 20 and 40 people die.
I wasn't too close from the worldwide
You were closer
numbers.
than me. You were closer than I was. I said, what did I say? 150? You were at like 10,000, and it's actually way more than that. Way more. So you can be hit. There's 240,000 people struck by lightning every year. I would never have guessed that. So that's a lot of people get struck by lightning.
Yep.
So here's the thing. That's what they're doing with these stats. Yeah. They have how many of these things in a year in various places across the United States. Each location is, you have to think of it now, like each community is like a person. And yeah, it's a 1 in 100,000 year weather event for that location. But these things happen across the United States regularly every year. There are a certain number of these 1 in 1,000 year weather events across the United States in various locations. You know, then statistically, that what you're getting every year is you're going to get a certain number of 1 in 1,000 year weather events in the United States. You might, I don't know what the total number would be, but well, let me see if I can find out. If I can compute it, if I can get the computer to give me spit out the right information based on that kind of strange manipulation of data, right? Across the U.S. So the answer should be, I don't know, Rick, shut up. Not precise data. Given the vast number of watersheds. What are we getting here? About 19 every year. About 19 of these in various locations. That's the answer that I got from artificial intelligence doing a deep search.
Right.
Right. So, see, in people's minds with that headline, the way they're leading you with the information, they're making you think, and Trump did it in that news conference. This is something that only happens once in 1,000 years. It's that rare. So in your mind, it's like probably all the United States, maybe even all the world. You're thinking in your head, this only happens once in 1,000 years. No, it happens 19 times a year on average, sometimes more, sometimes less, in various locations across the United States. What doesn't happen is it doesn't happen in the same location every single year. But we also know statistically, not just statistically, but from history, that area around Camp Mystic has been flooded out on many occasions. What is the pattern there? Let me see. I'll have to bring up the information again that I was researching before. I don't know. It's almost like every 10 years, the camp gets wiped out. Or every 20. And other years, they have various levels of flooding, maybe not to the same degree, but it's prone to flooding. Serious flooding, maybe not as bad, but they've had people die there many times in the past. So yeah, let me see what kind of gaps are you getting in a pattern? 1869, and then the recording data between 1869 and 1932 wouldn't have been nearly as good. You didn't have the same systems in place, and certainly didn't have satellite technology and computer records, right? And then 32, and then 36, only a 4-year gap there, and then 52. So, not even 20.
It can be hard to have all the data.
Right. Not even 20 years went by and they got hit again. And then 52 to 78, another 20, 30 years go by and they get hit hard again. Mass wipes the place out. And then 10 years go by and they get hit again. And then 4 years go by, they get hit again. And then 6 years go by and they get hit again. And 1 year goes by, they get hit again. And then not even 10 years go by, they get hit again. And 13 years, and then again. And then 10 years. It was only back in June they had a flood right through the San Antonio area. And it was 10 years ago that they had a big flood down through that area as well. So it's like that region, every 5 to 10 years, they're getting flooded out. Not always in exactly the same location, but they know there's a big risk. And it's happened before. It's like getting hit by lightning. But it's even more likely that you'll get hit because of the way that the geography is, where the river is, and the river is prone to flooding. And if not to this degree, it gets flooded out to lesser degrees, which still is a safety issue. So no, Donald, you have seen it before. Your government has seen it before. You should have systems in place and safety protocols in place to deal with this kind of stuff. And you're in charge and you're responsible. And the reporter, in my opinion, was doing their job by asking a tough question. And he's hiding behind these headlines, which are misleading. Are you following what I'm saying? Does this, what do you think of what I've just laid out for you?
Well, to me, it's basically a spin, right? I mean, what Trump is doing, and basically is recycling what you see on X or Truth and whatnot. So you have basically a spinning from, I would call that illiterate or news illiterate article from the man in itself, and probably, try to spin something that is completely ridiculous.
And see, this is irresponsible reporting. This is sensationalism. I don't think that the reporters, I see what's going on over at Forbes is, I think this is me speculating a little bit, but with some experience to back this up. You have reporters who have, they have a quota to meet. You have to write an article. So you have to produce so much material. So whoever is doing this, either an editor or a reporter, I don't know if it's the same person writing these articles, but maybe even an editor, they're going into a file and they're looking back and they're saying, what did we do last year around this time? What can we do a story on now? Oh, here's a story about flooding. Why don't you do a story on flooding today, Joe? And then that reporter gets a hold of this thing and they see this piece. And then they just recycle it. And because the data can be manipulated in the way that I just shared with you, it creates this opportunity to create a sensationalistic headline for 1 in 1,000 year flooding events in the US in the last month, or in this case, a week. So they recycle the headline, they spin the article. And if you look at the article and Forbes, even the way that the copy is written on the NBC site tonight, and then you go and compare the articles from the Forbes publication, it's very similar. Hang on, I got to bring you back up on the screen. There you are. It's very similar. I'll bring up the, it's complicated when the phone system is on. There it is. This is the NBC article. If you read the two, they're very similar in style. And so what they also do is they just take these things and they rewrite them. It was a trick also used when I was in radio. What you don't know is that in radio, I assume they're doing it much the same way today. It's called scalping. And you will look at other news organizations and see what stories they've written in their publications. So if you're at a local radio station, for instance, you look at the local newspaper that comes out each morning and you'll see, what do these guys have? And then you rewrite the newspaper basically, and you just talk about it. But it's your own script and you rewrite it so it is your own. Now, if you're a good journalist, you call and verify information. You don't just take it all at face value. You do make phone calls and talk to the newsmakers as well to make sure that everything is true that is being reported in the stuff that you're scalping. But they lead you, right?
Yep.
And so you use that as the basis for your story lineup. And in this case, they're just recycling an old story and then they're pumping it out there, and it made it onto the wire service, I think, and NBC picked it up and they spun it, but they rewrote it a little bit to make it their own. So it looks like it's fresh. So it's not plagiarism. They didn't just post it. The Forbes article, they made it their own. But it's so similarly written that you can tell that it's coming from exactly the same source. It's just being repeated. And they're using the same headlines and everything. But they're leading you to believe that this is such a rare event that it screws with your mind. And then you get people trying to figure out why, because they don't really clearly explain why in the articles or in the reports. And then it leads people to where? It's the geoengineering, it's the cloud seeding, it's the chemtrails, it's the government controlling everything with the planes from up above. No. In fact, the truth of the matter is, with regard to the cloud seeding, that cloud seeding that took place around the same, just prior to the floods, that would have actually reduced the amount of precipitation that fell in Kirk County, if indeed that weather system 150 miles away was even part of the impact there. Because by seeding clouds in one area, you're extracting moisture from the atmosphere. And that's why some farmers get upset about cloud seeding operations, because it's like farmers over in that county are stealing the moisture before the weather system gets over here. And that means that we don't get rain over here. That's why they get upset. It's the opposite. it doesn't make it rain more 150 miles away. It makes it rain more where the cloud seeding took place or wherever those clouds maybe go, right? But it extracts moisture from the atmosphere. And because it was so far away, it's highly unlikely that it didn't create this 1 in 1,000 year weather event. It has the opposite effect. And then what we got there, you see, it just bakes my brain, because then people jump to this conclusion that it was an intentional plot by the government to kill us all, or to create a not like a man-made disaster, essentially, is what I'm getting at, right? Hang on, I lost you here on the screen. There you are.
Say.
Hang on, I lost. Start again there, Dragon, because you were off the screen with all the buttons I have to click. I took you off by accident, but go ahead. You can talk again.
Well, this is basically what is happening. They're trying to make you think this is what is happening, which is, well, not totally right. And at the end of the day, right, I mean, the sun goes into cycle, right? And the sun, and it is true when there's some sunspot cycle or sunstorm and whatnot, it does affect basically what's going on Earth.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you cannot attribute everything to a plane probably going up in the sky and dropping whatnot. So,
and when they seed the clouds in those areas, they look at the weather patterns and they see what's going on, and then they seed in that small area because it has limited impact, and it can increase precipitation, as I understand the science, about maybe 20% more, 15.5, somewhere in that range. You get a little more precipitation out of the atmosphere in that area, but they do it in a way that they're pretty confident that the rain is going to fall in the area where they're seeding, so that because there are fees paid to try to get it to rain over that farmland. That's why it's done. And they don't want the precipitation to fall 150 miles away where the people who paid for it don't get the benefit of the precipitation. So no, this style of reporting then just lends itself to people spinning up conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
And the media loves it because they get more clicks, they get more ratings, it gets people more engaged. It scares people. They're using fear to manipulate you. And Donald Trump then uses it to protect himself. He uses that same fear to manipulate you in a news conference and to hide behind it. It's this only happens once in 1,000 years. Not my fault. Don't blame me. Don't point your finger at me. This only happens once in 1,000 years. These guys did a great job. I've done the best job ever, the likes of which you've never seen before. Not my fault. You're evil for even asking. And how dare you ask? Nobody could foresee this once in 1,000 years. No, Donald, it's something that happens 19, 20 times a year, every year, someplace in the United States, and usually in areas that are prone to flooding already. And that's what happened in Kerr County and that area of Texas. So yes, you should have known. You knew that these things could happen, and not that you needed to know specifically, but it was your job, Donald Trump, to make sure that the government agencies that are there to protect people are properly funded and properly staffed and properly equipped, and that the systems are in place so that the warnings should have gone out in a way that everyone there should have known. And you can't just point your finger at the previous administration because you were president before that administration. And you should have had the experience to know how important these systems are. You've been there before. You've done the job before, and it's your responsibility. No excuse.
That's true. And I mean, I do look at it into a scientific eyes, if you will. See, let's go back to 1 year ago. At the same time that Jasper was burning, what was happening again in the U.S. at the same time? I mean, all those things were one lifetime kind of situation in both countries. So, yeah, it's we cannot take that one lifetime situation as a face value of 1,000. Let's look it up on the other side. What happened when there were the big flood and Noah had this ark? That was a 1,000 time kind of situation. I would probably call that, or describe that rather. So
yeah, well, biblical. Some people have used that phrase, and I'm not one to sit here and say this politician should be automatically thrown in jail because of this tragedy. But you need to handle these things responsibly, and you need to own up to it and accept responsibility when you're in a position of responsibility, and say, yes, we're going to look at this and we're going to find out what went wrong, what went right, see where we can improve to prevent this from happening again, and make sure that the systems are in place that need to be in place. That's what should be going on down there, not deflection, not just covering one's own butt. That's what was going on in that news conference, and not criticizing a journalist whose job it is to ask the questions, because if you do that, you're making it unsafe, even more unsafe for people, because journalists need to be able to ask those kinds of questions, because they're part of the process, part of the system of making sure that things are fixed for the future by asking questions.
Right.
It's important. That's part of democracy. That's it's not about just saving your political butt. It's about doing the right thing. Speaking of doing the right thing, let's move on from this, shall we, and start to talk about Superman a little bit, because the Superman movie came out. Are you going to go see it? Do you think?
No.
No?
I'm not going to, because, well,
it's expensive.
The finance doesn't meet it much, but at the same time, I mean, I'd rather probably wait till it's on TV. So
sure, yeah, it's a lot cheaper. It is expensive to go to the theaters these days, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
too expensive for me.
I rarely, ever go to the movies anymore. I used to go all the time. Very seldom do I go now because of the expense. But tomorrow, I'm taking my wife to go see Superman, I think. So it's a big deal. I loved, and the reason is I love the trailer. Loved that trailer. It's got a dog in it. It's got Superman's dog.
Crypto.
Yes. Have you seen it? The trailer?
Yeah, I did. Sounds interesting. And I mean, look, I don't understand why people goes with the LGBTQ or woke thing behind it. I mean, look, everything needs to be woke, probably to a certain degree. I don't know. That's just me speculating here.
It's because the director at the premiere of the film, and James Gunn, said that Superman is an immigrant, or that's what people were saying. And then this was his response. I'll play the clip here. We ran it the other night, but I'll play it here again.
You said it's an immigrant story. It's a political movie. MAGA today is going nuts. What do you have to say to MAGA? I don't have anything. I think this movie's for everybody. I don't have anything to say to anybody. Like, I'm not here to judge people, I think this is a movie about kindness, and I think that's something everyone can relate to. You said,
yeah. So that's what James Gunn said the other day. What do you make of that?
It's just, I think, childish to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. To say that it is probably a form of how can I put that? To say that it is just because we're putting something politic into it. I mean, it's just a movie. We should probably just look at it as a movie and keep the politics out of it, right?
Yeah. Well, to a great degree, I agree with that
childish.
largely. But, you know, the thing is, movies, culture, art, everything has some sort of political slant to it because everybody brings their own worldview to the production of anything. If you're a Christian, you're going to look at things a certain way. If you're a, you know, if you're a Baptist, you look at it a certain way. If you're Catholic, a certain way. If you look at, if you're a Muslim, you look at it a certain way. If you're an atheist, you look at things a certain way.
Yeah, but
you know,
I mean, at the end of the day, all right.
Yeah.
Superman did crash on Earth, and it was not a happy landing, right? It was a emergency alert kind of landing. So the guy, and he was a child. Remember, he was a kid.
Yeah.
A toddler.
Yeah.
So the toddler cannot, you know, control anything.
Yeah, that's right. He's just a poor little kid that got placed in a rocket ship and blasted off to an alien planet. And then he shows up and it's like you said, it wasn't a happy landing. That's an understatement. He crash lands, leaves a giant crater. And along comes this kindly old, well, depending on which version of the story, but, you know, a kindly farming couple. And they basically adopt him. take him in, right? But he's undocumented, he's illegal, no question about it. But some people lose their mind.
And you know, it's if you read DC, they have I don't remember what they are doing with or what's the title of their equivalent of Marvel What If, but there's a version where actually Superman did land on Russia. So you don't want to have that.
So yeah, I'm eager to go see it because I think I want to see it because it raises so many political questions. And normally I don't want to see a movie if it's too political or if it's preaching to us. But in this case, I'm actually eager to go see it because it's going to make me think. I'm not exactly sure what to expect, but the trailer alone, you know, they're talking about like due process because in reality, a lot of what Superman does doesn't really follow due process or, you know, probable cause or some of these other legal principles that form the foundation of a democratic society. He just goes around arresting people and then delivering them to the cops, right? So sometimes I wonder if Superman even is doing things lawfully. Or when he intervenes in wars even, right? What gives him the authority to get involved in a war?
It reminds me of a joke I made yesterday, actually. What happened when the cops, you know, arrest Clark Kent, for example, and, you know, he says that, well, I live in Metropolis, which is, I think, New York in the real world. Thing is that at the end of the day, he's kind of a fraud because, you know, he's an extraterrestrial, so he has two lives, and basically he does also have a house into the Fortress of Solitude. So, yeah, I mean, how do you play with the IRS and whatnot, right? There's a fraud here.
Well, yeah, let me see if I think I have some other clips that I can show you from some people commenting on all of this. And if you want to call in, anybody else wants to call in and talk about superheroes, we'll spend a little bit of time on this. I have something special lined up for Maverick Midnight Matinee that's all about Superman at the end of all of this. Plus, my dad is going to join us for bad dad jokes, and he's going to tell us a Superman joke at the end of the broadcast here before we get into Maverick Midnight Matinee. Or I could save it for the end of Maverick Midnight Matinee, but probably before. You can call in at 1-647-734-4220. Punch in the PIN number at 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. I'm interested to know what people's favorite superheroes are. Who is your favorite superhero, Dragon?
Well, depends, because I'm a good amateur of comic book, and if you ask me on every Which one is my favorite of all would be Spawn for some reason.
Spawn.
But if you ask me for DC, Batman is my top dollar one. So, yeah.
He's like, that character is very complex. That's why I like Batman, because he's just like dark, but still tasked with doing the right thing. And yet he's conflicted. I think he seeks vengeance at times. So he's always on the edge. Plus, he's got the hots for Catwoman. So he's always at risk of doing something unethical in order to potentially, I guess, win the attention of kind of an evil woman. Complex stuff. Yeah, I don't know. So Spawn. Why you say Spawn's your favorite?
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, I actually started to collect Spawn since the beginning, and the idea of a Spawn is basically the anti-hero, if you will, that has a struggle between good and evil, basically. And it's a dark world kind of thing. Doug McFarlane is one of a hell of an artist, because the way he does the drawing is wow. I mean,
yeah. So Spawn kind of, he's like an anti-hero. He's not really a hero. He's got a real dark side.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so here's.
But at the end, he becomes God. No spoiler alert.
Yeah, that's a very complex story. Superman opens this weekend here on this post from Congressman Robert Garcia. Says, so Acosta and I talked about his immigration story, his billionaire arch nemesis, and how Fox News is losing its mind over a character who represents truth and justice. Here's this clip.
Yeah, I'm a huge Superman fan. I actually learned English reading comics as a young kid.
Is that right?
I did, and I'm an immigrant. Came here when I was a youngster. That's how I kind of learned the language, and I grew a love for truth and justice in the American way, which is now obviously hated by MAGA and Fox News. And it's crazy. Superman is an immigrant, came to this country, becomes a journalist, tries to do the most good, expose corruption. In the very first issue of Superman, he's fighting corporate titans, and Lex Luthor is a billionaire who becomes the president in the comics. The Superman story is a story of someone doing the most good, of social justice, of fighting corporate corruption. And these guys don't get to change the story because they don't like what it stands for anymore. And so this movie's going to do great. And I mean, Donald Trump is our Lex Luthor. I mean, there's no question about it. And so they can hate the movie all they want. Yeah.
What do you think? Is Donald Trump to our modern day Lex Luthor, Dragon?
You know what? I would probably agree with that, because Lex Luthor as Trump, and for Trump, it's just my assumption, but he does have the delusion of grandeur. So if that's true, and if, I'm on the right path with this one, we know Lex Luthor is one.
Yeah, so here's, who is this guy? I don't know this news guy. Do you know who this is? Can you see him on the screen? This is Travis on Fox News. Don't watch him. Anyway, we'll run his clip.
That's trying to appeal to the largest possible audience should keep that in mind. I wanted to go see Superman. I'm not that interested in going to see it now. There's lots of ways that I can spend money. And this moron with his take and deciding to say Superman was super political and it was about an immigration story, I think he's alienated half the country, and I think he made a really poor decision. That's trying to appeal.
I don't know. It's the issue of our day, immigration. So it's timely.
Yeah.
So if Superman were to crash, do you think ICE should deport him? Do you think they should do that? Would you get rid of Superman, arrest him?
Well, I'm asking myself, that would be hard. Well, the guy can fly in the sky and in space. So, yeah, he could probably deport himself. But where? His planet is doomed.
Yeah, where are you going to send him back to? Deport him back to the rocks, blown apart from Krypton? Whatever is left of his planet. The poor guy's got no home. He's literally homeless. This planet blowed up. Yeah, get rid of him.
Yeah.
Deport him. He's not here legally. He didn't apply. Maybe he could go to a different country. Somebody would take him. We'll take him up here in Kazakhstan. Come on up here, Superman. We'll find a place for you. I think. I'm cool with it. Would you be cool with Superman coming to Canada?
For sure.
Yeah, I think
we'll call him Super Canadian.
There you go. Oh, and here's the clip that kind of started the whole, that really kind of kicked off the whole controversy. This is Kellyanne Conway taking the lead over on Fox News on this.
And I went to the Yankees at Mets game yesterday at Citi Field. Go Yanks. And you should see the people sitting for the national anthem for God Bless America. It's really just, I can't believe that we've come down to that. And I don't know. We don't go to the movie theater to be lectured to and to have somebody throw their ideology onto us. I wonder if it'll be successful.
You know what it says on his cape? MS-13.
Wow. Is it superimposed or it actually says that? It is super. Just on the knuckles. One more thing is up next.
And I went to the Yankee.
Well, I don't know about that, but you know what did get me dragging in the trailer?
Okay, now it's MS-13. Cool.
Well, I don't think Superman is MS-13. You know what really grabbed me? Have you seen the trailer for the film?
Yeah.
Okay. So you know how he crashes really in the ice, right? In the snow from way up above. And that's him laying there. You can see it on the screen. And then his dog comes, Crypto, and he whistles and the dog saves him. Drags him off to the ice palace. And I thought, I gotta go see the movie because the dog saves Superman. And I don't know if my dog would do that or not. He'd probably just sit there and lick my hands. He likes to do that. I don't know why. But I don't know if he would grab. I don't have a cape for him to drag, so he'd have to grab me by the collar, I guess, and drag me off someplace. I don't know where. I don't have an ice palace. But yeah, that really tugged at my heartstrings. So I want to go see it for the dog, if for nothing else. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. Well, to me, it's a blink of an eye of what was the idea of Superman. I think back in the 60s and the 70s, actually, because Crypto was kind of canon back in those days. Mm-hmm. So, and the Super Brothers and whatnot. So, yeah, I'm not sure about those, but yeah, I remember about the twins. And look, I was a kid. I do remember a few things, but the names don't come back.
Yeah, people are having a lot of fun with this too.
Oh yeah, Super Friends. That was Superman and the Super Friends.
That was the 1970s, I think, right? Late 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Super Friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was still playing in the 80s, back in my days.
Yeah,
so
yeah. Super Friends. The animation has certainly improved a lot since then. Well, in some cases. Yeah. This is funny.
Speaking of the wit, I missed actually the Comic-Con this year.
Oh, the one in Montreal. That's a big one you have in your city, Montreal Comic-Con.
Oh yeah, this is like where you get all the people costume in whatever hero and villain they like, and I mean, it should have been a thing I should have probably covered just for the fun of it because, yeah, it's a big one. At Palais des Congrès, it's always the big one.
Yeah, well, I guess at the big one in Toronto, which they had just a short time ago, I think they have 2 a year up there, I believe. The last one set a new attendance record. So a lot of interest in this stuff. These superhero stories, they are very political. Adults eat them up. A lot. These movies, these stories, they're not just for kids. Largely, they are for adults. They used to make them more for kids when we were kids, but we've grown up with them. And yeah, these movies, they have very deep stories, a lot of them, especially those Batman movies.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff's pretty dark. Well, listen, Dragon, what we're going to do is we're going to drop off of this, and I'm going to go pick up this thing with my dad. He's going to share his bad dad joke, and we're going to talk about Superman with my dad. So I'm going to let you go, and then I'm going to come back, and I'm going to fly solo tonight on the Maverick Midnight Matinee because some of the stuff is pre-recorded. So I'm going to let you go, sir. Thank you so much for helping me out tonight with this. I really, really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And
I'll say just this thing just for the ending as a last thought. Remember, guys, the hoax behind the climate change, well, it's just a hoax. And to give you the truth, I'll say what actually George Carlin did say, as we have the consumption of that human with plastic bags and little can of aluminum did change the world. Well, I'm sorry for you guys, but the earth has been through a lot of things before us in 2,000 years of human industrialization. So
man,
that's it.
Yeah, I hope people got something helpful out of what we presented here tonight, because it isn't just the people on the climate change side, it's the people on the other side too. They're all trying to use fear to manipulate us. And Donald Trump is using it tonight as a shield to protect his political butt. So keep it in mind. I hope that helps keep things in perspective for people. I believe that information is some of the most valuable information we've shared here that helps get everybody closer to the truth. Dragon, thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
All right.
Take care, my friend, and love you guys.
All right. Talk to you again soon. We'll get you back on another night, and I'll be right back with bad dad jokes right after this, the Superman edition.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
I was thinking about this Superman movie that is coming out. I think it starts today in the theaters. Anyway, the reason I'm talking about it on my program is because a lot of people are upset because the director said that Superman's an immigrant. And so people are like, no, he's not. He's an American. And I was like, wait a minute, this guy is like actually from another planet. People get upset about the silliest things, you know. Like he's literally an alien from another planet, and they're like, no, he's not an immigrant.
Okay. Well, listen, though.
Yeah.
The joke I've got.
Yeah.
People might be upset when I tell you.
Oh, well, that's okay. That's normal. It doesn't matter what you do. People are going to get upset. So don't worry about it.
Okay.
Anyway, I was saying that, so this new movie comes out today. And so that's why I'm talking about it, because some people are upset because the director says that Superman's an immigrant, but he's actually from another planet. So of course he's an immigrant, but whatever, people get upset about the silliest things. But then I was thinking about the old radio serials from like the 1940s, right? And I just wonder, I was listening to some of them last night. And I just wondered, did you, when you were a kid, or did you ever spend any time listening to those?
No, I don't remember. I don't think so.
So you weren't a big Superman fan?
No, I don't know. Back then, I was more like Roy Rogers or.
You were a little more grounded, I guess. You weren't interested in the guy flying around in the cape. You're into cowboys.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I remember when I was a kid, a couple of things about you and Superman. I remember sitting watching Superman on TV with you one night.
Yeah.
There was the one with Gene Hackman where he played Lex Luthor. I don't know. I just remember sitting watching that with you. And then the other thing that I don't really know why it occurred to me, but do you remember, well, I'm sure you do. I kind of remember Neil, the young guy that came to live with us for a little while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. I don't know. The Superman movie made me think of that and I just try to remember what happened with that, because I was really young, and didn't Rob bring him home or something? What happened with Neil? What was that? His dad was abusing him or something, right? And he came to live with us.
Yeah.
What happened with that?
I don't know. His dad abused him or something.
Yeah.
His dad kicked him out. You found him at the. He was sitting in the little alcove at the schoolhouse. And you found him there, and then you brought him home.
Yeah.
And he said he was sitting in the alcove at the schoolhouse. His daddy kicked him out or something.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I remember when he came to our house, I was in bed, I think. It was at night. And I remember the talking in the kitchen, but I was really young. I must have been only about 7 or 8 years old. Maybe 9. And I was just trying to remember what happened with that story. And I remember you gave him a place to stay down in the downstairs. And he was with us for a while. What was it? Maybe a month or 2 months or something like that?
I'm not sure. It was a couple of months. Your mom says a couple of months, maybe.
Yeah, that's right. And then I don't remember a lot about him, but I remember he was.
I think he went back to live with his mother or something.
Yeah.
Your mom said she did.
And I remember he was such a nice guy. I remember he took me downtown on the bus while he was living at the house with us. And it was we spent the whole day together. And he took me around downtown. What do they used to call it downtown in London, the Wellington Square Mall. And I remember being there, and he took me around. He bought me lunch. He bought me ice cream. And then we hopped on the bus and we came back home, and it was a fun day. He was really, really nice to me. He was a nice kid. Now I don't know what's happened to Neil, but you probably don't hear from him anymore. But I was just thinking, like, I guess the reason I was thinking about it was sort of like, Superman's all about just helping people who need help, right? And then there was Neil, and then Rob brought him home and helped him out, and then you helped him out. And I thought, there's what the world needs more of. just more people helping people like that. You know, we should all be, there's a little bit of Superman in everybody, right?
Well, they won't like my Superman.
They don't like you. Well, you go ahead. You tell us the Superman joke.
I'll tell you, man. You decide whether you want to use it or not.
Okay.
So there's a couple of guys. One name's Clark, the other name's Joe. And they're up in the roof of a high-rise 15-story building in downtown New York. And Clark says to Joe, you know, if you jump off this building and you go right down the side of the building, when you get about the 5th floor, the air compression is compressed, and that air suction goes sucked right in onto the floor of the 5th floor of this building. No harm done. Go on, as Joe said. You get out of here. Clark said, no, that's true. You watch. So you go down to the 5th floor and you wait for me. Joe goes down there. Clark jumps off the 5th floor and he goes down and zoom, and sure enough, the 5th floor, he puts right into the floor, right down on the floor, safe as can be. Joe said, that's wonderful. That's amazing. Clark said, you try it. So Joe goes back up and he jumps. And you're there on a splat right on the sidewalk. And security guard says, Superman, when you're drinking, you're a real jerk. That's the joke.
Okay. All right. Well, that I'll use that. That's okay. That's still a pretty good joke.
Okay.
Well, all right, Dad. Thanks for doing that. I appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. Love you.
Okay.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Okay. Bye.
I'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye. It's my dad. Okay, so this segues us now into Maverick Midnight Matinee. What we're going to do tonight is a little bit different because we're not going to bring you a movie. No, we're going to bring you that vintage radio program. The first 3 episodes, they're short in duration, each of them, but long enough to make up a Maverick Midnight Matinee episode. And we have them for you here. There we go. Okay, we're ready to rock and roll with that. So, one other thing. We have to, I've got it up here. All right, cool. So, Maverick Midnight Matinee. That's where we're going now, folks. Now, if you want to watch this, you got to get off YouTube and you got to go over to our Rumble channel. Or one of our Rumble channels anyway, because these Maverick Midnight Matinee episodes, not YouTube friendly. They don't like them. We get hit with all kinds of penalties. So not going to run over there. I have to dump off YouTube. We're only going to be over here on Rumble. So you have to get off YouTube. We're going to cut the feed over there on YouTube now. Just so you're aware, thank you. If you don't join us over on Rumble, thank you for watching tonight over on YouTube. We have a lot of people on the main YouTube channel, a big audience over there tonight. So thank you for that. I'm seeing the numbers as I just happened to click over there. That's great to see. Appreciate the support, just having you watch. But I have to end the stream there now. There goes the main YouTube channel. See you over on Rumble, folks. And